Welcome to Unmasked. I'm Olga Karpman, and this is the show about what lies beneath. Welcome to the very first episode of a show that's been over 6 years in the making, and I'll tell you why in a moment. Before we begin, I just have to stop and thank you for finding this space. This space that you and me created, not randomly. Maybe right now you're in transition. Maybe right now you're experiencing a shift in your career, in your life, in your health, in your relationship. Maybe nothing dramatic happened in your life. Maybe opposite. Everything did. And for the past year or two, you probably experienced a lifetime of a journey. Or maybe everything looks pretty good on the outside, on paper, by good standards. Maybe you have an amazing career, great spouse, awesome kids who achieved a lot, or on the path to achieve a lot. Everything looks perfect on paper. Or opposite, everything already falling apart, and you have no idea why and when. Maybe you're kind of person who built things and you figured things out. You held a lot together over the years. You became stronger, more capable, someone to rely on. And still, something feels very different now. Something that's like a tiny whisper that's not even obvious to other people. And everything looks fine on surface, and you would say, yes, I'm fine. But maybe you wake up at night and something in your soul is stirring. That soul-wrenching feeling that keeps you up many nights. As if the life that you've built does not fit anymore and you don't understand why. If this is you, welcome home. I'm Olga Karpman, and together we create the space where we're just gonna be and listen and take masks off and see what's beneath the surface and listen to that tiny voice of your own spirit, of your own soul that wants to come through and wants you to hear it. Welcome to Unmasked. Welcome home. I'm really happy that we found each other. And this space is becoming only ours. You see, I'm just like you. I went through a lot in my 40 plus years. And I've experienced the systems around me and the voices and the people. They were not the right match anymore. Not the right match for what my soul was craving. And I felt it louder and louder every single day. I don't know if you can relate to that, but it was like a whisper in my soul, like a sound of a bee in the forest, like the crack of fire by the fireplace, like the snow in my hometown underneath my feet, like silence that wasn't empty. It was alive. And that tiny voice, that's intuition. That was my spirit calling me for something way bigger than me, way scarier than I could ever imagine. And that voice, it doesn't care about your titles, doesn't care about your achievements, the money, the roles that you play. Something inside of you just doesn't sit the same way anymore. The way you've been living, the way you've been showing up, even the way you've been seeing yourself. And the life that you built became way too small, and you can't explain it. And sometimes you get those random thoughts and you think you're crazy for feeling this way, for experiencing the life this way. And the worst part, you feel alone. You definitely feel that you're the only one going through all these changes, all these shifts. Everything is perfect on paper, or opposite, everything fell apart, right? And you feel lonely and alone, and no one understands you. Well, that's why we created this space, this podcast for people like me and you, for this kind of moment where we can feel each other, we can hear conversations, we can see the mask fall. And for that moment, when you feel like no one understands you, when nothing is clear, when it's all in your head and you're over-analyzing and thinking and don't even see the way out of it, not in your soul, not in your life, not on paper, that moment when you just exhale and you let it be. And this podcast is the space. Not for when you have all the answers in your life, but for that in-between moment. That next level you feel and you know it's there, but you can't name it yet. You know something is shifting. You know you're still growing. You know you're tired of doing it from the outside in. You're tired of authorities, gurus, teachers, and everyone else around you telling how to live your life, what's the right thing to do. You feel it's time to reverse it and start hearing your own voice that comes straight from your soul, straight from your spirit. And it's time to stop listening to authorities, gurus, and everyone telling you how to live your life better, more successful, more fulfilled. That era is gone. And you know it. You feel it in your core. But that's in between. There's nothing new yet. You don't know where to go. And the question comes, how do you trust your own voice? How do you know you're not crazy? Well, this podcast is exactly for that. I'm not here to teach you. My guests who I interview are not here to teach you. Even though they're the most amazing, smartest, coolest people in the world. I was fortunate enough to interview in my past projects Kobe Bryant, Mel Robbins, Simon Sinek, and many, many other billionaires, astronauts, Olympians, and regular people just like me and you. But that's not the point. That's not the point for their titles. This podcast is for people, big souls, big spirits who know that they're here to be the vessel, to deliver the message. And when the masks fall, and you'll see it on the podcast, the conversation just becomes deeper, more real. You'll see it, you'll experience it, and you'll see the Creator's magic in it. And you'll hear exactly what you need to hear in this podcast, just for your next step. And you always be guided to look back inside to what your own voice tells you. No one knows better than you what to do, how to do, and what's best for you. And this podcast is exactly for that. To give you and me and people who will surround us space. Space to be, space to feel, space to experience. I didn't create it because I had everything figured out. I created because I didn't. I did not have a space to go. I did not have people to talk to when I was going through my own shift for the past 6-7 years. And because I needed this space for myself, I needed people around me where I can share what I'm going through without having to explain it perfectly. And I needed a support group that's just going to be there for me. I created this podcast. For the past 6 years, I've been in a process where the outside nothing really changed. My life looked amazing, better and better every single year. I have an amazing husband, beautiful family, great kids. My husband, Alex, we've been married for almost 14 years. I have a almost 17-year-old at this moment and almost 11-year-old. Eva is my older one and Sophie is younger. They both are co-creators of the Dream Big podcast. They are the ones who interviewed Kobe Bryant, Mel Robbins, Simon Sinek. And our family is just a loving, beautiful, awesome family that we created from nothing, I would say. I came here to this country as an immigrant at the age of 21. I had $300 in my pocket, barely spoke any English, no job. As a matter of fact, my very first job was here selling ice cream in Los Angeles at the Dodger Stadium. All I could say is, $3 ice cream. And I was smiling. And then I became single mom at the age of 28. And then I got married with my best friend, Alex. I met him on the airplane, actually, when we were 23. But divine has its own timing. And everything happened for a reason. I became single mom. I opened up a great business for the Russian-speaking community. I led seminars, events, thousands of people's events. I communicated with the best speakers. I brought them to the new markets, created online products for them, podcasts, media, communication, traveling, speaking on stages, everything, you name it. My career was amazing. And yet, I had a calling to close my business. I closed it in 2022, and it was the best decision ever. And the highlight of my career, when everything was great, when I had thousands of people going through my courses, but something inside of me was shifting, changing rapidly. Layers after layers after layers, so fast, I couldn't comprehend it. It was so strange that at some point I stopped even trying to understand it. I stopped trying to control it. I stopped trying to name it, label it. I just exhaled, put my hands down and said, Creator, if this is your plan, I'm up for it. Take me to the best place you know is for me. So many nights, so many days and nights, tears were just streaming down my face. I had no idea why. Something was shifting and changing. Again, on the outside, everything looked fine. My husband didn't even understand half of it. I was sharing partially because he was busy. Someone has to work, right? While someone else who going through such a huge shift. And I just chose not to bother him because I thought he would not understand. Only after I started opening up, and I knew it wasn't depression, but I could just lay in bed for hours and hours and days. And my husband's like, are you okay? I'm worried. Do we need to take you to the hospital? I was like, no, it's fine. But I felt like a huge energy just pinned me down in bed, and I couldn't move. I couldn't get up. And at night, I would wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning and I would cry. And my soul was just it was the weirdest soul-wrenching feeling, as if my breath was closing. Some people label it as panic attacks. It wasn't it. Something was moving through me. I just allowed it. I just became observer. And that's when everything started changing. Masks started falling away, quietly, one after another. All of a sudden, I wasn't a perfect wife anymore. I stayed in bed. I wasn't such a shiny, bright person that I used to know myself and everyone around me. I was always light. I was always positive. I was always happy and great, and everything else, everything looked great. I wasn't that anymore. That role came off. I wasn't a good mom anymore. I was missing kids' pickup time at school. I was not showing up on time. I was not showing up for my friends anymore. I was snappy. I was mean. And I could not understand what was happening. Thank God for people around me who just stayed. My husband was one of them. My friends later showed up. And when I was trying to say, oh my God, you have no idea what's happening, they were like, yeah, we know. And people who I didn't even expect to be there for me. Old friends started falling off, old friendships, betrayals coming in. It was so weird. It wasn't dramatic on the outside, but for me it was. Thank God I didn't destroy my life, because I know a lot of people did. These energies are coming through and they start just really destroying their life, thinking that someone else is the reason for the way they feel. Something higher than me gave me the wisdom. Thank all the energies around us. But my relationship actually became deeper through this. First of all, relationship with myself. I started listening myself. My connection with God became deeper, more clear. And I'm not even talking about religion right now. I'm not such a religious person. I hear a lot of wisdom in every religion, but I believe in something greater, in something bigger than us. My relationship with my kids became stronger. Not through forcing. They're such a powerhouse, both of them, especially my older one, Eva. She didn't come for me. She came through me as a powerhouse. You listen to her interviews at the Dream Big podcast at the age of 6 and 7, you know what I mean. But it was a time of separation. She was 14, 15. Now she's almost 17. And something inside of me was completely transforming, and I couldn't understand what it was. It was so hard to explain. Because from the outside, again, everything looked fine and beautiful. And that made it even harder because no one understood. What is she struggling with? What's wrong with her? Look at her. Is she crazy? Like, she has a beautiful house, amazing family, every career, everything, traveling nonstop every single month somewhere in a new country, from Alaska to Siberia to Hawaii, everywhere in between. But I kept showing up every single day. And I'm sure if you're listening to this, you've experienced some of it, or maybe some more to come. And you're still functioning. And you still live your life, but something is deeper happening. I personally couldn't hold it anymore. I started sharing with those friends who came along, one person and another. And unexpectedly and very quietly, I heard the voice. It's time. It's time to launch something bigger. Start sharing it wider. More people need to hear it. And I did. I recorded very first interview. It wasn't even under this name of the podcast, different podcast, almost a year ago, actually. But the name didn't sit right. The concept didn't sit right. I don't know. I just couldn't. And the time passed and the summer came and it was very, very transformative. Very, like nothing that I've ever experienced before. I went to so many different places as if each place had some key for me, some code that I was experiencing. Tulum in Mexico, Siberia, my roots, that's where my family is from and where they still live. I went to the mountains a lot, rivers, nature, met amazing new people. UK, Italy, and my journey and this podcast and the name of it came from one very, very special place. Not by accident, but it meant to be. From Venice. That's where this original mask, that's the symbol of Unmasked, came from. You see, sometimes things happen not to punish you, not to steer you away from something more important, but to lead you step by step, guide you step by step. And I believe something bigger than me wants this podcast to be alive. Quietly, unexpectedly, even if this space is just for me and you, that's all what matters. I know that together, we're going to create a space where we're going to feel safe to speak, to be understood, to listen, and to be very, very real. As you know, nothing is by accident. Me and you, did not meet by accident. You did not click on this podcast by accident. We didn't hear each other stories by accident. We're not going to hear any stories on this podcast from any of our guests by accident. It was already pre-planned. We just needed to show up. And I knew at the time where this idea came through me, I didn't create it, it came through me. I wasn't the only one going through this. There's so many people right now who have done the work, built the life, reached certain level, and suddenly feel that it doesn't fully match anymore. Not because something is wrong, or maybe opposite, everything fell apart, but because something is evolving, something is moving, something is shifting. And I saw so many stories like that already through so many people that I communicated with and openly shared my real story, my truth, everything that I was going through. So many people opened up and finally said, wow, thank you for sharing. I was going through the same thing or similar thing, and I had no idea what it was. I was alone. I knew we needed a space. We're not going to fix anyone. We're not going to teach anyone. We're not going to be guru for anyone. We can't even rush this process. It's so individual. But because this process cannot be manufactured, rushed, predicted, it's very, very personal. It's deeply personal. Because of that, you're going to feel your own pace. You're going to feel your own frequency. You'll feel what resonates on this podcast for you from each guest. And through these conversations, through listening, through being present, you'll start hearing your own voice again. You see, this podcast has a story, how this came about. As I mentioned, I was in Venice, and it was my last stop before I was returning to Los Angeles, where we live, to California. And I was supposed to be there only for a couple of days. I was traveling with Sophia. I took her to see my parents in Siberia. And I was supposed to be there for just 2 days, exploring, seeing the touristy things, and just go somewhere else. But I had that extra time. And plans changed. And I decided to stay in Venice and decided to slow it down. We moved from the hotel to Airbnb. We took it slow. We explored. I ran every morning and experienced Venice in a very beautiful local way. And then a couple of days before we left, there was this mask making workshop. Nothing serious, nothing crazy. I thought it would be fun for me and Sophia to go to. But because I was at the end of my very, very big shift, and so many things happened at the same time and so many levels, I thought, you know what? It would be great to just go and take my mind off everything that's happening. And that was the final point. At that workshop, I created a mask that you see on the thumbnail of this podcast, black and white, but not in a way you would expect. Dark became light, and light became dark. And in the center, you'll see consciousness. When I took the mask, I placed the objects, and it was supposed to be the owl and the wing and the heart on one side, and was supposed to be white. And on the other side, the dark, was supposed to be the devil, the sculpt, everything that usually represents dark. But as soon as I took the paint, I could not do it. And the phrase came to me, one phrase: not everything is as it seems. You see, so many times in life, we think that what we think is dark is actually light. It brings us back to light. And when we think what's light has actually shadows, not accepted shadows, but shadows, and might not be as light as we think. That's when everything clicked for me in my own life and in this podcast. Because we live through layers, through roles, through identities, through expectations, through versions of ourselves that were once true, but not fully true anymore. And that's where Unmasked was born. Not as a concept, not as a pretty idea, but as a deep, deep knowing to see what's beneath the surface. What happens if all the masks fall? Who do we see? Who is that beautiful spirit, beautiful soul looking at us in the mirror? This podcast is not about me. It's not about my guests, and I'm sure they're going to be amazing. At the time of this recording, I already interviewed 4 people, and you'll see them on a podcast. And I can tell you, nothing on this show happens without any reason. You'll see the flow of energy. None of these conversations were scripted. None of these conversations were pre-discussed. The guest comes and chooses the mask, or the mask chooses the guest before the interview, I should say. Each guest looks at 12 masks or less, depending who was there before the guest, and chooses one. And we ask the question, what this mask wants to tell us. Why did you choose this mask? And our guests open up in very unexpected ways from the very beginning. You'll see. And you'll see that we are mirrors for each other. Sometimes I sit at the interview and it's just the flow of energy going through me, and I see a lot of reflection of myself in it. I have to stay strong. You'll see me sometimes like getting out of the host mode right into the shift that mask is taking us on. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It just happens. For people who are more grounded, like a lot of leaders, entrepreneurs, they'll see just a great conversation with a symbol of mask, nothing unusual. Someone who sees deeper will see deeper. It's a very multi-layered podcast. And I'm honored. I'm really honored to be the vessel for it, to be the channel for it. And I'm very honored and happy that you found us. And I hope you'll subscribe, and I hope you'll share if you feel it resonates with you and other people who are going through shifts right now. Because we together building a big, hopefully community, support group that can hold the space for each other and for others who are still going through transition and through shift. And there is nothing good or bad in this experience, no right or wrong, it just is. And the only way out of where you are is through your own voice, through that tiny whisper. When you choose to take off the mask, when you see people for who they are, not the roles they play, and you start seeing what's underneath. You see it in myself, you see it in people around you, you see it in our guest. I see it in myself every single day. Everything that triggers me shows me something about myself. And it's not pleasant. Sometimes it's so ugly. I was like, oh my gosh, how is this real? But if it's showing it to me, I have to look. I want to look. I want to look deeper, even if it's scary, even if it's unpleasant. Because life is a reflection. All of it, good and bad and whatever we label. But it just is light and dark and everything in between. Everything, absolutely everything is our reflection. And this is not the place where I tell you who to be. And don't let anyone, not my guests, doesn't matter if they're the biggest authorities, don't let them tell you who to be, why to be, and what to do. You, only you, know better than anyone else who to be. It's not the place where people come to perform. Maybe at the beginning a little bit you'll see when the ice breaks, right? But it's a place to be. We have enough of performances around us already. Through social media, through politics, through governments, through everything what happens in the world, through family members. This is the space where we get more honest with ourselves, and where conversations will go deeper, where things can get messier, unclear, uncertain. Something will steer your soul, but it's going to be all real. One thing I promise you, it's going to be real. Because that's what your soul is craving for right now. To be real. Very real. To feel life raw, fully. It's like you standing by the ocean or watching the sunset and feeling something move through you. And sometimes it will show up in tears, and you don't even understand why. You wouldn't even know why, but let it happen. Something wants to come through you, not because you're sad, not because you're broken, not because you are happy, because you're alive. This space is for you to feel alive again. You're just allowing it to be. You're just remembering. You're allowing something to come through you. You're remembering who you really are. In the voice, in my voice, in guest voice. But it's all you. You hear yourself. You might hear it later after this podcast in the wind, in the moment, in a smile. And that's all real. And even in the argument at the grocery store, this is all real. And there is already enough of fake around us. And it's already enough of artificial around us. But we want something very real. Your soul, your spirit is craving something real. Because very often, the things we try to avoid, the things we call uncomfortable or dark, are exactly where something real begins. And I invite you not to be scared of that. Look into it. See your own shadows, and you'll see it through our podcast. Something will trigger you for sure. Stay with it. If you feel you are in transition, and if you can explain it, stay with it. It will pass. But it's much easier to do it in a space that's been created just for that. And if you feel you're shifting and the version of you that worked for years suddenly feels too small, just know you're not alone. Me and you and many, many, many others around us going through the same thing. You're not alone. My best friend, who actually you'll hear on this podcast, says, you're not alone and you're not crazy. Join our space. And maybe you don't need another answer right now. Maybe you just need a space where you can hear your own voice again, yourself. just like me and you, sitting by the fireplace one day. Just exhale, and we just don't even say anything. Maybe we should create a podcast where we don't even say anything. We just sit there and we just be. Maybe I'll do that one episode. That's going to be the space to hear each other. But for now, you'll hear me on this podcast. You'll hear my friends. You'll hear amazing people, my guests. Some of them will be known. Some of them you'll hear from the very first time. But I know for sure, if they're on this podcast, it meant to be. And they need to deliver the message, or something needs to come through them, through the mask that they chose, or the mask chose them. It's a very exciting journey. I don't have specific plans for it. I just see it unfolding in a very beautiful way. And I know that me and you are co-creating this space. And I'm really, really, really grateful for that. Thank you so much for being here, for being you. Welcome home. Welcome to Unmasked, the show about what lies beneath.